Hello there, how are you? So, today I'm going to give you a journey about how to trade off between cost and time for best decision making and how to integrate this to risk management. So, in IQRM, we believe that every decision is a gamble. And to control these gambles, we have to do data and risk analysis and to put it inside the barrier, what we call a risk tolerance barrier. And this to help us to produce what we call a risk aware decision. And so let's have a case study about this. So we have like a welding of a pipeline that should take 100 days to finish. And we have two welding crews and two welding machines to complete this work. So we have identified the risk that we have. We have welder absence, we have welding machine breakdown, and variation in welding productivity. And also the cost elements that we have the payday for every welder per day, and also welding machine rents, the consumables that we're going to have, and the indirect cost to perform the job. So what we are aiming for, so the chart you're seeing here is called the GCL, Joint Confidence Level chart, that integrate between schedule targets and cost target. So the dots you're seeing here are all the possible scenarios that we have from the Monte Carlo simulation model that we built. And the one in red, that means that we are not achieving our cost and schedule. And the one in green, that we are going to the possibility to achieve our cost and schedule. So what we are aiming for is to maximize this green zone, to make sure we're taking more decisions to make sure that we are increasing this zone better and more. So we start with something to make such decision. We start with something called an RDE, which is a systematic method to monitor and control risk. So to manage something, you have to measure it first. So that's the main idea behind of the RDE. So the RDE method we apply is to reduce, its objective is to reduce guesswork, to produce defensible forecast and have a clarity in forecasting. In clarity means that we are know or understand how the future looks like with the current disruptions, risks, and productivity rates. And so we build out our risk data engine. We use it to supply the model that we are building to provide clarity on what needs to be solved to achieve the project and schedule. And this to achieve what we call a defensible forecast. So you can build up a forecast that you can bet on, that they can actually defend, and also help you to produce what we call, as I told you, a risk-aware decision. So the RDE data sources are many. So we can, for example, have internal project performance record, supply chain and procurement feed, financial market feed, contracts and commercial documentation, technical and engineering information, health and safety, external context like weather forecasts and so on, regulatory and compliance records, how many compliance problems we had. All of this information are useful to provide it to the RDE to produce for us a defensible forecast. So once we know our data and information, we move to what we call a decision making. So decision making lies into what we call the risk attitude and the risk tolerance. So we need to understand what is the attitude of the company toward the risks and how much risk it can tolerate. So when we are taking a decision, it's not an open space. It's taken based on actual information and data. So there is most of companies are risk averse unless, and there are some, like if you're in financial sector, if you're Elon Musk, if you're doing really risky stuff and you are open for risk. So this will be the convex or the risk seeking pattern. But most organizations, most companies are risk averse. People are trying to minimize the risk. They want more reward than the risk itself. So what we try to do is we define the risk tolerance barrier, and we to understand which decisions are good for us and which decisions are bad for us. So as you see here, the risk tolerance barriers, you will find the dots of, we have a red dots inside of it that mean that we don't achieve the project profit or we don't achieve the project objectives, and the one that is outside the barrier here. So the risk tolerance barrier are the barrier that we can bear losses, we can bear delays, but outside of it, we are actually experiencing more losses than we have ever that we can actually bear. And this may, for example, lead to project is not feasible, finances will stop, company is liquidated. So all of these actions can be very frustrating for a company, or can be actually going to liquidate a whole company if we let the consequences creeping out to get outside of our risk tolerance barrier. So what we do is doing a calculated risk aware decisions. We are willing to invest money in decisions to increase our chances of success. So the actions that is having positive reward, positive bonuses, positive incentive are this what we call a positive risk aware decisions. And the one that is outside that causing us negative results are what we call negative risk aware decisions. So let me give you some examples about this. For example, you have a shutdown window that you need to catch up with, and for maybe a turnaround project, and you are investing in air freight and in maybe some premiums. So you want to know if investing in such air freight and premiums, is this a good decision or a bad decision? So what we do, we build up our RDE first to understand what is the data behind every decision, and then we build our models, and then we assess the decision using our utility curves that tell us, okay, this is within our risk tolerance barrier, this is outside our risk tolerance barrier. So the best decision we select based on how much risk we can take. So another example, should we increase the number of resources now that will help us to achieve our objective, or it doesn't matter a lot? So this kind of decisions is very important to understand what actually bring value and what actually is just a waste of money. So sometimes you are investing in a lot of resources, but these resources are not helping any much and is not putting your project on track, but actually it is wasting a lot of money. And even if you finish this activity, you still have other activity that is more critical, or that will be eventually more critical and more delayed than this activity. So and also there is maybe hedging of currency. Like you are, for example, your contract is in euro and you are importing material and equipment in USD. So the currency exchange rate. So is hedging the price is a good decision or not? So there is a lot of things, and even in personal life. So is changing my job from current job to another job is a good decision or not? Make sure that you are understanding the main concepts. And then we have building the risk model. Building the risk model is more about how to build a schedule risk analysis model, a budget risk analysis model, an integrated schedule and budget risk models, in addition to build out a quantitative risk register. Then we have a third module, or third stage is building a risk-aware decision. So here we is just the main important thing, that we have understood how to build out the RDE, understood how to select probability distribution. We have built out our models. And now the most important thing is to take decisions and to use it and implement it inside of your projects. So building out a risk-aware decision is the process that we learn how to use our models to drive decision-making in our projects and even in our organizations. So all of this is part of the QRM diploma. And In addition to that, you may sign up also to our QRM Inner Circle community that will help you to ask questions, support you while developing your models, and everything related to this. So that was me, Rami Salim. I'm your IQRM risk management consultant and trainer. And if you're if you are interested in the QRM diploma, you can check the details in this link. Thank you.